Hello viewers, this is Serpentstare and this is Magic 2014. I don't actually own this game, but Steam is having a free weekend for it as a promotion. So I'll be Let's Playing it, at least the tutorial and the first match or so, however far I decide to get before I get bored or the weekend ends. I might end up buying this game if I get really into it, and if you get really into it and would like to watch me play some more, perhaps you can leave comments on my videos and influence my decision. Let's start, shall we? Now, I have already played the tutorial levels, and there doesn't seem to be a way that I can find to reset my my character stats and like delete save data. So I'm just going to have to play them again, even though they're all unlocked, and Chandra Nalar over there is unlocked, in order to show you the full progression of the game. One more thing, the videos that I'm releasing on this might be a little bit shorter than usual, because the game is in full screen. I can't see Bandicam's timer, and I don't want to risk going over it. So I've borrowed my boyfriend's alarm clock so I can keep an eye on the time. I'm also going to want to cut the video between matches just for the sake of, having a reasonable start and end point, and I think I'm going to label the videos based on what match they're in. So that should make things slightly easier. Let's start at the very beginning with casting spells and combat. Creatures with Shroud can't be targeted by anything. And yes, this is Magic the Gathering.
Planeswalker, one of the elite spellcasters of the multiverse.
And I am a Planeswalker, one of the elite spellcasters of the multiverse. This is the portrait that I've chosen for myself. This is not the default portrait, and nor is Mage of Jade a default title. For those of you who have not played Magic the Gathering, this tutorial is kind of for your benefit. For those of you who have, well, you can watch me and maybe be amused if you enjoy that kind of thing, especially if I make bad choices or suffer from bad luck. So, I'm going to, not necessarily assume anything about how much you know, but I'm going to show off all the rules and tutorials anyway, so that anybody who doesn't know can figure out what's going on and follow along.
During duels, you will face fearsome enemies, sometimes other planeswalkers, to battle for power and glory.
Personally, I think this voice acting is a bit too serious. My boyfriend thinks it might be Jace's voice, but I'm not sure. Jace is one of the other planeswalkers.
You each start with 20 life. The first player to reduce the opponent's life total to 0 is the winner.
That's pretty basic and very true.
Your library is the deck of cards containing all the spells, creatures, and resources you'll need to defeat your opponent.
Not necessarily, but it'll contain all the spells, creatures, and resources you have available to you.
You begin the game with a hand of 7 cards. Use the mouse to select a card in your hand. Use the mouse wheel to zoom in on the selected card.
So yeah, you can take a look at any cards that are in your hand or on the field once they're already played, and you can take a closer look by spinning your mouse wheel on them. Oh.
On your opponent's first turn, he plays a land. Once on the battlefield, lands provide the mana needed to cast spells.
Yep, lands are the basics for everything. And I can't look at my cards while he's got one of his pop-ups up, so I'll close that. Crazed Goblin. It's a Goblin Warrior. It's a 1/1. It attacks each turn if able. That's its special ability. And he's going to talk more about it.
Your opponent uses that land to summon a creature onto the battlefield.
Yep, so now he's no longer directly reading this, but yes, he did.
Crazed Goblin costs 1 red mana to cast, so your opponent needed just 1 mountain to cast it.
Right. There are 5 basic land types and 5 mana colors. Red, which comes from mountain, green, which comes from forest, blue, which comes from islands, white, which comes from plains, and black, which comes from swamps. There are also other ways to get mana, but those are the easiest, most basic, and most common. Every spell costs at least 1 mana. Actually, that's not entirely true. There are some things you can do with 0 mana, but those are quite rare. Most of the time, they will cost at least 1 colored mana, and often some uncolored mana which you can use any color of mana to fill. He's going to explain some of that as time goes on. Combat, main, end.
You can play one land on each of your turns. Play a forest now.
I don't have any other land cards I can play. And I can look at these. So I have an enormous Baloth, which costs 6 of any color, and 1 which has to be green, for instance, and it's a 7/7. In my hand I also have a Centaur Courser, 2 of any color plus green, and a Runeclaw Bear, 1 of any color plus green, which will be the most accessible, or it'll be the first accessible creature that I have available to cast. You may have noticed that we also have these phases down here, and they're 4 spots. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! You have main phase 1, combat, main phase 2, and then your end step.
Crazed Goblin attacks. Because you have no creatures, you're unable to block.
All of these steps are important, and different things get processed during the different steps.
Crazed Goblin has 1 power, so it deals 1 damage in combat. You lose 1 life.
Yep, it's pretty basic. I can't block, deals 1 damage, and when that goes away, my life will go down by 1 to 19. Main phase 2, he doesn't do anything, and on his end step...
The more lands you have on the battlefield, the more powerful spells you'll be able to cast.
Yep, that's, kind of obvious, but I guess he just wanted to tell me that.
Your 2 forests now give you access to 2 green... Runeclaw Bear requires 1 green mana and 1 mana of any type to cast.
Sorry, I kind of cut him off
Click
there.
on Runeclaw Bear to cast it.
I can also just click on it.
When you use mana from lands, those lands become tapped and can't be used again until your next turn.
Many things tap things. You can tap creatures when you attack with them, or when you use some of their special abilities. And if something needs to tap for an ability, you can generally only use it once a turn. That's a way of limiting how much you can do at once. For now, I'm going to end this first video just to make sure we stay under the time limit, and we can come back and do some more next time.